It's 4 p.m. We're bringing you developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Patrick Paez.
I'm Ed Lingao, and some stories are watching this Monday, August 12. The Philippines will file a diplomatic protest with China over the latest West Philippine Sea air incident. On August 8, the military says 2 Chinese aircraft executed dangerous maneuvers and dropped flares in the path of a Philippine aircraft over Panatag Shoal. President Bongbong Marcos has since condemned the incident and said Beijing's actions were, and we quote, unjustified, illegal, and reckless. The health department assures the public that hospitals are prepared to admit leptospirosis patients. This, as San Lazaro Hospital reported, manpower and medicine shortages due to increasing cases. DOH reminds everybody to seek immediate help once they experience symptoms like fever, headache, chills, jaundice, vomiting, abdominal pain, rashes, anemia, or severe muscle pain.
And senators are backing the Philippine National Police's new strategy to combat illegal drugs. PNP earlier said it will target drug sources and supply chains rather than just drug pushers and users. Lawmakers are hopeful that the strategy will effectively reduce drug supply and usage. Joining us today, Ana Marie Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Storycon's resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas.
Hi, happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Good afternoon, Ami.
Okay, Ami, what's on the front pages of Philippine Star for tomorrow?
Medyo slow day ngayon. Dagdagan ko lang yung mga sinabi niyo, yung leptospirosis. Nire-recommend daw ng Department of Health sa mga local government units na ipagbawal yung pagsiswimming sa baha.
Oh,
Ayan. Yan yung mga dagdag.
right.
Saka may reaction yung Department of Budget, si Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman doon sa sinasabi ni VP Sara Duterte na mishandling daw ng budget. Sabi ni Secretary Pangandaman, ang laki-laki nga daw ng tinaas ng budget ng Department of Education when the VP was the Secretary. Wala pa ako ng exact figures, pero yan ang reaction nila. Marami nagre-react pa rin hanggang ngayon. Lalo yung mga congressmen nagagalit. Kaya titingnan natin kung anong mangyayari pagharap ng OVP, Office of the Vice President, para i-depensa yung budget nila sa House.
Mukhang hindi yun yung issue ni Vice President Sara. Mukhang ang issue niya pa rin ay yung intelligence at saka confidential fund
Yun na nga
na nawala sa budget.
Hindi niya binanggit yun Hindi niya binanggit yun
dahil ang gumagawa naman
Alam
mo naman namin, ang gumagawa ng budget proposal, yung department mismo eh. Diba?
Yes, yes.
Usually, hindi naman yan nababago substantially. Kung merong nababago dyan, kaunti lang.
Yung confidential funds.
Nagdadagdag sila ng malaki-laki.
Yun. I stand corrected sa sinabi ni...
700 plus billion din.
I stand corrected.
By camera la.
Nadadagdagan, imbis na nababawasan. Kaya nagulat ako doon sa reklamo.
Hindi niya binanggit yung secret funds niya. Hindi rin binanggit ng DBM yung comment kasi hindi binanggit
Yes.
Pero actually yun lang ang nakikita nating pwedeng maging issue ng OVP sa budget, di ba? Yun lang nawala, 650 million.
Saka Ami, nabasa ko yung
kapatid
kolo
niya
mo.
nagre-reklamo rin Nagre-reklamo din yung mga kapatid niya, di ba? Si Congressman Paulo Duterte, 500 million lang daw ang binigay sa
500 million lang.
sa distrito. Hindi ang
Kalahating
hinihingi
billion
yata
lang.
2 billion. Hindi ang hinihingi yata 2 billion.
Oo nga, kalahating billion lang binigay. No?
Oo nga, kalahating billion.
Nabasa ko yung kolo mo, Ami, tungkol sa mga trends, sa mga survey, sa mga latest survey.
Oo nga. Tinanong na natin yan sa Okta. Pati sa Okta, nagalit si BP
Oo, binalatan.
Bakit daw gano'n ang... Bakit daw gano'n ang kinalabasan ng bakit daw gano'n yung... Kaya pinagtanggol nila Okta yung survey nila na bumaba yung sa Duterte, identifying with Duterte, at tumaas yung identifying with the Marcoses.
Sabi ni Vice President,
natin.
Anong klaseng survey yan? Pinaggastusan ng gusto para itanong kung sino ang gusto ng mga tao, Duterte o Marcos. Dapat ang tinanong nila ay sinong gusto ng mga tao, Dapat pro-Pilipinas ba? Ang dinagdag ko lang, pro-Pilipinas ba o pro-China? No, medyo nakalimutan ni Vice President yan.
Mukhang kung gano'n ang tanong sa survey, 100% yan,
Oo.
di ba?
Sino ba
Sino
sasabing
naman magsasabi na pro-China siya? Di ba?
Yung kasi reklamo
Wala naman atang ano.
yung kasi reklamo ni Vice President eh.
Okay, talaga, oh.
No, speaking about the top story, Bok, yet another diplomatic protest. I was just searching here kung nakakailan na tayo. No, since 2020, guess how many? According to this
300?
report,
300.
444 diplomatic protests.
Kulang pa pala yung 300 ko.
So,
Pero
parang-
delikado to Itong yung burst na nilalabas.
Yeah.
Pwede ka ma-aksidente dyan Sa,
This morning, during our story conference, Bok, he said that it's a normal,
No, it's not normal. It's something that's done to harass other aircraft. The Russians do it.
it's a normal harassment tactic, kumbaga.
The Russians
Okay.
do it, the Chinese do it. The Chinese did it to an Australian helicopter sa Yellow Sea just
Yes.
this May.
What are the
Nagfile-
risks? What are the risks?
Well, example, the Russians did it to a U.S. drone over Syria a couple of years ago na damage yung propeller.
Okay lang yun, drone lang naman, di ba?
Yeah, but it's propeller-driven eh. So, na-damage yung propeller kasi tumama yung propeller sa flare. Propeller-driven tong aeroplano
Yeah,
natin to eh.
okay.
Saka yung
Pangalawa,
chopper.
So you can imagine a manned aircraft, a manned Philippine Air Force aircraft, there's risk to life there.
Yeah.
dahil propeller yung ating ginagamit. Hindi naman tayo mga fighter jets.
Pero look,
May jets din tayo. Trainer jets.
Delikado yung pag-jet kasi may ingest ng engine yan.
Ingest ng engine.
Mas delikado kasi
Flares yan eh.
Waraking
So
makina
this
mo nun.
explains the strongly worded reaction from
Dahil delikado.
the President and also from the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the National Security Council. Parang ganun.
Yes. Akala kasi nila de-escalation eh.
Baka
Ba't nagkaroon pa nito?
Baka sa dagat lang.
Mahirap kasi piliin.
Nagkaroon ng easing and escalation as far as on the seas, on the waters. Pero lumipat doon on air.
Yung mga mahilig manood ng pelikula, sabi na, bakit sa pelikula pag maglabas ng flares yung mga aeroplano, tik 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 tik, parang gano'n lang, di ba? Kasi yung pelikula yun Sa pelikula mukhang magkakalapit mga aeroplano Pero in reality, magkakalayo dapat yan kasi for you to use your missiles, you have to be far apart.
Yeah.
You can't use your missiles close range
Yes. Baka tamaan ka ng debris. Ng debris.
Di ba flares, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a very uninformed question. Di ba flares, they extinguish fast?
Well, relatively, but they're in a container. And yung container yung delikado, as well as the heat.
Okay.
Usually kasi mga flares is used to divert rockets. So hindi siya yung mga baby rocket natin
Hindi
sa
siya
New
yung mga
Year.
paputok. Kasi iniisip ko yung mga paputok na
Sa New Year.
wala na yun, bagong taon.
Mga heat-seeking rockets yung delivered
mga
flares.
heat-seeking rockets.
The other countermeasure is yung shaft, which is a triple aluminum foil. The Russians have also used it several times. And there was another aircraft damaged by shaft kasi na-ingest sa makina ng Russians.
Marami rin tayong mga flares made in China.
Oo.
So basically, this is
Pero
Power.
maganda yung point na ni-raise nyo. Yung bang agreement natin, di ba nagkaroon tayo ng agreement, both sides naman nag-agree na merong pinag-usapan. Kailangan ba natin ng bagong agreement on aerial
airspace.
operations?
Over Baho de Masinloc. This is another area. This is over Baho de
nga eh.
Masinloc naman in Scarborough Shoal.
Hindi pa natin alam
Ano
yung
nga?
unang agreement eh. Tapos may susunod pa na bagong agreement.
We haven't read it
So
yet.
dalawang agreement na yun, wala tayong kaalam-alam.
Pero mukhang yung unang agreement involves Ayungin Shoal, di ba?
The resupply.
Ayungin Shoal yun, saka dagat. Yung resupply yun yung resupply. So baka kailangan na naman, siguro kailangan tanungin namin ng DFA, Kailangan na naman ba ng bagong agreement dyan sa lugar na yan and governing aerial operations.
Or we could ask the National Security Council. Kasi
Mamaya naman, andyan siya.
Baka sabihin na naman sa bagay kasama NSC sa mga
they're
mga
part of
ganyan.
the consultation. For those waiting, we will have later one of our guests, NSC
Undersecretary.
USEC, Jonathan Malaya. So,
Ami, pwede mong idagdag doon sa susunod mong column, yung Oculum survey, na medyo malaki yung binaba ni Vice President Sara. Yung presidential preference to, from 44% yata to 25%. So halos kasing laki nung sa SWS na trust rating naman, no? Approval rating.
Kaya nga
Almost the same,
Kaya nga nagbababaan talaga.
18-19%. No? 19 points.
Nagbababaan talaga yung mga... Ewan ko kung ano mangyayari dahil over the weekend, bumabanat na naman sila eh. Siya mismo pati ngayon, hindi na yung mga kapatid niya eh. Siya na mismo ang nag-criticize and directly criticizing the president. So titignan natin kung ano yung magiging impact nun sa... Medyo matagal-tagal pa yung mga susunod na survey. Mga bandang September pa yan maglalabasan. Pero ganito magiging epekto. Tingnan natin kung anong impact sa kanya.
Baka kailangan nilang kumuha lang ng mga mas effective na advisor para bigyan sila ng advice on paano bumanat.
So,
Mukhang
dapat kunin advisor.
ayaw ni Vice President ng advisor eh.
Dahil yung mga banat nila bumabalik sa kanila eh. Hindi dapat ganoon yung pan mo, yung mga statement mo.
For example, for example,
binanatan niya yung police to population ratio. Ikaw ang pinakamaraming police na security. So, huwag yun ang gamitin mo. No? Halimbawa, binanatan mo yung mga baha. 6 na taon, sabi nga ni Senate President Chis Escudero, 6 na taong kayo na sa gobyerno, ano nagawa nyo? Di ba? Yung mga ganun ba na dapat kasi kung babanat ka, i-anticipate mo ano yung pang-counter using your statement. So, ang dami nun eh. No, na bawat paragraph eh may pang bumabalik eh.
Kaya nga.
And also if you use the police to population ratio, dapat meron kang data to show na it's worse now than during her father's time. Otherwise it's very vaguely worded eh.
Tama.
Diba? Kasi we don't even know is it worse now in terms of mas marami ngayon ng population versus police or is it just the same? Kasi if it is the same, tatuman din tatay niya.
And I understand it wasn't even mentioned what is the correct or the ideal ratio. Kasi when we get into things like ratio, we have to. It's very specific and very technical.
Yeah.
What is the desired or ideal ratio
You wanna have a
of policemen
reference.
per population? Parang ganon.
Halimbawa, sabi niya,
Ang gusto daw ng PNP, 1 for every 500 people.
That's a lot.
Sa
given our
ngayon,
big population.
ang ratio natin, 1 policeman for every 2,000 sa ngayon.
Oh, times 4.
Oo. Ang gusto ng PNP gawin, 1 for every 500 lang.
Tsaka sinabi pa niya na hinaharas siya ng PNP. Ganyan talaga ang kanilang modus operandi pag sila ay nangaharas. Baka tanungin siya, ganyan di ba yung ginamit na harassment during Tokhang? No? Di ba? So, nung panahon ng tatay mo, mas marami rin harassment eh. So, ayun, ingat ka sa mga statement mo na baka bumalik sa'yo. Lalo na nung sinabi niya, everything is about politics. It's about, ang ginamit ng term, perpetuation in power. Yung mga nasa posisyon, ayaw na bumaba. Baka sabihin sa'yo, it takes one to know one. No? So, ayun lang, ingat lang. Na baka kasi meron diyang mga mas learned kaysa kay Ed Linggau na ibabalik yung iyong statement laban sa'yo.
Okay, I'm looking at the paper. I'm looking at the paper from a foreign public safety agency, and mukhang ang ideal ratio, the best ratio is 1 to 500. So ganun nga. Yun, that's basically,
Yes.
I guess, for the developed country, parang ganun ano.
Medyo malayo, no? Yung atin.
Right.
Ang dami kasi natin tao, kaya medyo mahirap. Lalo na, daan-daan, I think more than 1,000 siguro naka-deploy sa mga VIP eh.
Ay, sasabihin ko, ang daming mga escort na.
Yes,
Ang daming mga police escort.
lahat.
Official ba yung
Pati barangay captain daw, tinanggalan ng pulis. Biro mo yung pati barangay captain.
Meron
kang police bodyguard. Ilan yan, libo-libo yan. Libo-libo. Apart from that, may mga private VIPs na magsabi ka lang na may threat ka, meron ka ng security, ang dali-daling kumuha eh. Paano? Lahat naman tayo dito na may problema sa personal security. Mga journalist, kaya't maya, pinapatay all over the Philippines. Environmental advocates, legal professionals, hindi naman tayo binibigyan ng security.
So, dapat 1:1.
Tsaka, Ami, baka mali yung messenger. Baka mali na yung magreklamo. Yung merong isang batalyon na security. No? The biggest and the highest in our history. No? That is 4 to 5 times bigger than her predecessor. Halimbawa, si Lenny
Yes.
yata,
70 plus.
more than 4
80
times.
to 100.
Oh, more than
Ah.
4 times. Si Binay, mas malaki yung multiplication, no? Si Kabayan, no? Mas maliit. So, baka iba dapat yung magreklamo.
Teka. Speaking of security, ipasok natin guest natin.
Yan.
Ayan.
Yes.
Security Council.
Joining us today.
Yung
Ano sa segue, di ba?
mas marami alam sa atin about security, no?
Okay, Ami. Join us now from on the Storycon is Jonathan Malaya, Assistant Director General of the National Security Council. Sir, magandang hapon and welcome back to the Chiefs.
Hala.
Ay, Asek.
Storycon.
Magandang hapon, Yusek. Pasensya na sa huntahan namin kung saan pumunta eh. Nagpapanggap kami may alam sa security.
Masarap naman nakinig. Nakikinig. Tawa ako ng tawa habang nakikinig sa akin.
Hindi mo nakikinig. Buti mo na lahat yung sinabi tungkol sa NSC. Sir, teka, first things first. Yung nangyari ng I think it was August 8, the Chinese fired off flares in front of one of our propeller-driven airplanes. It's not the first time they've done it, to other countries. Pero what does it, ano implication nun? What's the significance?
Hindi ba yan kasama doon sa agreement, Yusek?
Yun nga yung parang ine-expect ng karamihan sa ating mga kababayan. Nakasama ito dun sa agreement. Hindi po, no? The provisional agreement between the Philippines and the People's Republic of China was only limited to Ayungin Shoal, the resupply mission to Ayungin. Okay, so hindi pasok yung iba. Ang luwag-luwag ng West Philippine Sea, no? Napakadaming features. We have 9 occupied features and many of these areas are contested. So, kinabigla talaga namin yung nangyari, no? We were surprised that this event happened, and the condemnation really is very strong, not only from the IFP, not only from the National Task Force West Philippine Sea, but also from the President himself. Kasi clearly, unprovoked yung nangyari kasi wala namang ginagawa yung ating eroplano doon, but doing a routine patrol mission over Bahaw de Masinloc.
Okay, ADG Malaya, when you say routine, we have done this before in the past because to my recollection, ADG Malaya, the Chinese have effective control of Scarborough Shoal. So I guess as far as they're concerned, that includes airspace. Is this the first time we've been back there in terms of the Air Force? Or have we been doing this all along?
Well, when you say the People's Republic of China has effective control, what they have is just control over the lagoon. Mm-hmm. It's just inside the shoal. Okay. Outside of the shoal, our BFAR vessels can go in. Our Coast Guard vessels can do what they need to do, and our fishermen can also fish. And we always conduct maritime patrol over that area. This is not the first time, and this will not be the last time na gagawin natin yung maritime patrol natin. But this is the first time, as you said, that they did this kind of intercept at nagpaputok pa ng flare in the flight path of the Philippine Air Force.
So the Air Force has always been flying in that area?
Yes.
Okay.
We have always been flying in that area.
The missions of the Philippine Air Force is related to what? I mean, information gathering or monitoring? What sort of activities are involved in these Air Force missions?
No. What we do is what sovereign nations do. Remember, Bahaw de Masinloc is very close to the coastline of Zambales. No, it is a low tide elevation which is not subject to the sovereignty claim of any country. Mm-hmm. It is within the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines and continental shelf. So our Philippine Air Force was doing what any sovereign country would do. It's inside its EEZ patrol. Primarily for maritime domain awareness.
Asa yung agreement nyo over yung resupply mission sa Ayungin, it covers pati aerial operations, ano?
No, it does not. What was explicitly provided in the preliminary understanding with the People's Republic of China over Ayungin Shoal is the maritime resupply mission. So, hindi covered doon yung aerial resupply. But the Philippines can utilize an operational mix of various means of resupplying our people in Ayun yung show.
So,
So
Yusek,
pwedeng
kung
aerial
magbabag...
resupply. Pwede siyang aerial resupply.
Pwede. Pwede. There is
Pwede.
no prohibition, yes. There is no prohibition.
Malinaw na ba? Malinaw na ba? Kasi hanggang ngayon parang may disagreement pa on both sides. Yung, do we have to notify China? Or do we notify China? Or do they get to know kung may papunta tayong vessel dahil lang sa mga protocols on shipping? Malinaw na ba yan, yung aspect na yan?
You know, Ma'am Ami, no, if you look, as I said during the last time I also was on this show, maliwanag na maliwanag yung laman ng provisional agreement between the Philippines and the PRC. Ini-spin lang nila for them to be able to save face and for their domestic audience. Because, you know, the Chinese Communist Party has to project a certain image to their public, no, that they are in control. But China, the People's Republic of China, and the Philippine government knows exactly what is in that agreement. And maliwanag in that agreement that there is no prior notification and that there is no boarding or inspection of our ships going to BRP Sierra Madre. And nasunod naman ito. Ini-spin lang nila to make them look, you know, for them to save face, no? Kasi napilitan silang makipagsundo sa atin.
Yusek, may plano na ba tayo or framework kung sakaling halimbawa mangyari uli yung ganitong klaseng aerial harassment, lalo na kung magkaroon ng aksidente? Halimbawa, isang eroplano natin or chopper ay paulanan uli nitong flares at maaksidente yung ating eroplano or chopper. Sana naman hindi. Pero kung sakaling mangyari yan, Yusek, meron ba tayong framework na immediate na position natin, immediate conduct?
Yes, meron. In fact, in 2019, meron tayong tinatawag na multilateral set of guidelines for air military encounters. And this was adopted by the defense ministers of the ASEAN region. Okay? At meron din ang PRC and the United States and some other powers also agreed on missions in principle on multilateral guidelines to manage unexpected encounters between their military aircraft. So meron ganito, no? So I don't know exactly if we will pursue a similar agreement with China, but if you ask me that question, yes, there is a certain types of agreements that can be the position of the Philippines moving forward.
Sir, we're all familiar with the gray zone operations. China's been conducting this with, for example, yung militia boats nila on the water. What about this one? This looks eerily familiar. Para sa gray zone operations in the air or operations short of military conflict. Is this how you look at it? And moving forward, what do we do about it?
Yes. Ed, you are very correct, 100% correct. This is an extension of what is called as gray zone operations, or what the Philippine government calls as ICAD, illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive actions. So, in-expand lang nila, no? It began in the sea, now they're doing it in the air. They have done this with the aircraft of other countries in the past. May toolkit na sila eh. They've done this with Indo-PACOM aircraft of the US Air Force, with other countries in the world. Ngayon, ginagawa na rin nila sa atin. So, this can be considered an escalation on the part of the People's Republic of China. Kasi nga, this is the first time that we've had this kind of encounter with them.
Yes, sir. But what I mean kasi, sir, is that it's been done by China, as you said, even before. The latest was, I think, with Australia, an Australian helicopter in May of this year, dun sa Yellow Sea, although it's not South China Sea, pero Yellow Sea. But it's being done by China and, for example, the Soviet Union. Hindi pala Soviet Union, by Russia. Russia's been doing it in, for example, over Syria. In a couple of years ago, may na-damage na US drone over Syria because nagpakawalan ng flares ang isang Russian jet, tumama sa propeller ng drone. And so it almost went down. So it's been going on for quite some time by these two countries. Diba? Parang going back to Tito Ronald's question, how do we move forward with protocols on this, and would they even agree to such a protocol?
Well, as I said, because this has been happening for a long time, there has been guidelines that have been agreed to by some nations, including the Philippines, tayo naman with ASEAN countries, to
Pero so,
manage
what about China?
such events.
Yes, sir.
To manage such events in the airspace. So this could be considered by our government. Yes, in trying to settle future incidents if it so happens in Bahos, the Masinloc, and other parts of the West Philippine Sea.
Yes, sir.
ADG Malaya, could it be possible that there are operational gaps between diplomats and defense officials of both sides, or China, for example? That what's being discussed among diplomats is not necessarily translate or among defense officials who are on the ground.
Okay. Insofar as the Philippines is concerned, I don't think so. The coordination between our different departments are pretty established and standardized. So there is clear coordination. Even the statements released by the Armed Forces, the Office of the President, and the NTF-WPS was consulted all around. So we have a common stand. I also think the same is the situation in China. Because they have one big entity, the Communist Party of China, that rules everything. So, essentially, I think they want to settle Ayungin, but since the Ayungin agreement was some sort of a setback for them,
Okay.
they want to put pressure on the Philippines on other fronts.
Okay.
Yusek, nung August 9 to 12, may pumasok na mga militia, itong U fleet, pumasok sa ating Balintang Channel. No? Armed militia, pumasok sa ating Balintang Channel o yung Luzon Strait. Alam na ba natin kung ano objective nila? Ba't sila nandun?
I'm not entirely familiar about this, no? I'll have to check with the Philippine Navy or the forces. Kasi after that, dumaan lang sila and hindi na natin sila nakita within our maritime.
Pero matagal din sila, no? Several days. 4 days sila nandun, no? Kaya people are asking, anong ginagawa nila ron? No? Lalo na, alam natin na USEC, na yung militia nila ay under ng kanilang Coast Guard at saka Navy. At ito ay mga armado. Hindi lang ito yung mga simpleng mga barko. Dahil malalaki rin ito, 55 to 60 meters. Yung haba niya mga yan.
Kaya kailangan na natin yung Archipelagic Sea Lanes Bill. Kasi yung Archipelagic Sea Lanes Bill will identify the sea lanes that can be used by foreign entities, whether they are civilian or military, in passing through our Philippine archipelago. Sa ngayon kasi wala pa tayo noon. So technically, a ship, whether civilian or military, exercising innocent passage can pass through anywhere in the Philippines until we have identified our Archipelagic Sea Lanes. So I'm glad that the Senate has been working on this kasi pasado na sa House eh. Yung Senado naman under Senator Tolentino is fast-tracking the passage of this bill. Kasi pag meron na tayong ganito, identified, dito lang kayo dumaan. Pag dumaan sila sa ibang lugar, that becomes a violation of our sovereignty. So maliwanag na mali yung ginagawa nila. As opposed to the situation right now where they can practically go anywhere in the absence of the Archipelagic Sea Lanes bill.
Okay. ADG Malaya,
As
if we can move on
mentioned
to...
na you mentioned na nangyari na nga to, ginawa na ng China yung paggamit ng flares with other countries. Can you tell us kung ano naging response ng ibang bansa apart from, of course, filing diplomatic protests? Meron ba silang mga binago sa mga protocols nila, sa mga operations nila?
As far as I know, pinonetesta nila, they exposed it to the public. They have their own transparency initiative. And then, they tried to work out some sort of agreement with the People's Liberation Army. So far, bumaba naman yung incidents na nakita ko with the US Air Force. I don't know about the other air forces, pero in past couple of years, dati mas marami, ngayon mas kumonte.
So tayo, we will be talking with Beijing again kasi meron naman tayong mechanism for talking with them, di ba? Are you setting any talks to resolve this? Para hindi na lang maulit to? Meron bang nakaschedule na ganon? Meeting between the Philippines and China?
Well, I cannot speak for the DFA kasi they're the lead here. But given that we are going to file a diplomatic protest, I think it will be standard for the DFA to raise this in the next bilateral consultation mechanism. This time to be hosted by the PRC. Sila naman ang mag-host. We have to wait for them to call for that meeting. Then I'm sure, definitely I'm sure that the Philippine government to the DFA will raise this issue with them.
Sir,
Okay.
Sir, before we drop the topic, balikan ko lang yung sinabi niyo kanina, may 2019 multilateral guidelines for air encounters. I'm wondering, first of all, of course, kasama tayo dun but does that include China as well? And have you gone through it and have you seen what it specifies with regard to encounters like these? For example, ano yung bawal at ano hindi, at ano yung recourse ng aggrieved party?
The guidelines I mentioned, which is the guidelines for air military encounters, was among ASEAN countries, and this was entered into in October 19, 2018. So this is just among our ASEAN countries. Wala pa tayo with the PRC. So this is something that I think we can consider, so that we don't have incidents like this moving forward.
Okay. On another matter, ADG Malaya, I understand there's a Court of Appeals decision on a case or a petition involving you and the NTF-ELCAC. Can you explain to us what is this dismissal of a petition for habeas data by two activists?
Yes,
Okay.
I know you remember this last year. There was this incident wherein the NTF-ELCAC had a press conference for two individuals who voluntarily surrendered to the Philippine Army. And during that press conference, bumaliktad sila. They went against their own statements of affidavits which they signed and accused the Philippine Army of abducting them. No. So what happened was, after that incident, the two individuals supported by militant organizations filed a case against the NTF-ELCAC, Colonel De La Cruz, and me, and Colonel Buko of the Philippine National Police. And they filed a writ of amparo and a writ of habeas data against all of us, no? NTF-ELCAC, me, and several other individuals. And I am pleased to inform you that the Court of Appeals has dismissed both petitions. Both the writ of amparo and the writ of habeas data was dismissed by the Court of Appeals.
What would the writ of amparo, let's start with that, what would it have granted these activists, these petitioners?
Yeah, because the petitioners were saying that they were red tag, number one. Number two, their life, their liberty, their security, and their privacy were under threat by the state. No, and it was the state that is supposedly responsible for what happened to them. The Court of Appeals held a hearing. There were witnesses presented over several months. I myself came out during the hearing, and the Court of Appeals said that the petitioners failed to prove that there is imminent or continuing threat to their life, liberty, and security. In fact, you will see Jed Tamano and Junila Castro in rallies, demonstrations. You will see them on TV talking about reclamation. They even went to the Netherlands to speak at an international event. No, yeah. So you're showing it now. So, ang sabi ng Court of Appeals, how can there be a threat to their life, liberty? They are already up and about and exercising their full rights and responsibilities under our Constitution. So, very clear yung Supreme Court, Court of Appeals decision, and the NTF-ELCAC was vindicated here.
Ano naman, Yusek, yung habeas data? Ang alam ko lang kasi yung habeas corpus eh.
Okay.
Kami ni Ed Lingaw, hindi kami learned eh.
Grabe ka naman. Habeas data. Compelling the state to release information.
Yes, yes. Ganito kasi,
Just pulling your leg.
Hindi ka learned eh.
yeah. Na-interview kasi ako sa kabilang istasyon, hindi ko na sasabihin kung alin.
Wag sir.
And then, during my interview, I said that we will slowly expose the information we have on them. What I meant by that was, we will release to the public information about their voluntary surrender. No, the way they interpret it is, i-expose ko yung maybe their address, maybe where they are or whatever, and they claim that this further placed their life, liberty, and security and privacy under threat. So they were asking the court to issue a writ of habeas data to stop government, in particular me, from releasing whatever information I may have against them, and to issue a protection order protecting them from further harassment. Ang sabi ng Court of Appeals, there's nothing to compel, and according to the Court of Appeals, the petitioners failed to prove the existence of the right to informational privacy. So again, a complete vindication on the part of the
Does this
NTF-ELCAC.
mean, ADG Malaya, that the NTF-ELCAC or NSC or the AFP will now be releasing information in defense of the arrests that were made back then?
No. We have been very consistent. The information that we shared to the public is what we have shared. Nothing more, nothing less. Wala na po kaming sasabihin tungkol dito. We already shared to the public what we know of the two. That they are pseudo-activists, they are pseudo-environmentalists, they are not what they pertain themselves to be. Hanggang dun lang. We have no further desire or intent to expose other information about them.
Pero ito, seryoso, Yusek. Dahil ang dami ng mga tao nakakaalam ng elements ng ating agreement with China, kailan ba yan ilalabas, yung agreement, para hindi na kami magkamali ng panghuhula kung ano yung laman ng agreement?
Bago tayo gawa ng bagong agreement, yung lumang agreement, ilabas muna.
Ganito kasi yung kasunduan dyan. Releasing the agreement to the public requires the consent of both parties. So, if China does not agree, I think our hands are tied, no? So far as we're concerned. Kasi we don't want to be accused of violating the agreement. And if considering how the resupply mission happened last time, tumupad naman ang parehong both parties. Tumupad naman dun sa laman. Ini-spin lang sa media.
Okay.
But
Pero
you
sir,
look at what
ADG Malaya, sir,
Tumunod pareho yung parehong parties.
is there more to the agreement, to this provisional agreement, than what was already disclosed by the Chinese Foreign Ministry? Kasi it seems like marami na rin sila sinabi na hindi sinasabi ng Philippine side. So meron pa ba silang hindi sinasabi?
Again, yung sinabi ng Foreign Ministry has to be taken with a grain of salt. Alam mo naman, that's standard CPC propaganda, trying to spin the agreement in their favor. Kasi kung babasahin mo yung statement nila, very carefully worded, they said that these are the principles that China took when we talked with the Philippines. Tapos sa dulo, hindi naman nila sinabi doon na we agreed to it, no? So they're trying to spin it, they're trying to put a good face into it. Kasi at the end of the day, remember, BRP Sierra Madre is still there. Our troops are still there. The original demand for us to pull out has not been met. In fact, napagbigyan pa tayo na maging maayos yung resupply natin sa Ayungin Shoal. So it's understandable that China would try to spin this in their favor.
Pero
So
sir,
this thing that they're saying that the Philippine side has to notify them, that's also not in the agreement.
No, I can say that with a straight face. Definitely, there is not that kind. There was no prior notification. No was there boarding or inspection or regulation or supervision that was claimed by China. So, kailangan ihiwalay natin yung optics or the propaganda from the reality on the ground. And we are pleasantly surprised that in the ground, nasunod naman lahat yung terms of the agreement. Magkaiba lang talaga in terms of the optics and the propaganda from the foreign ministry.
May time frame ba, Yusek, itong agreement na ito? Halimbawa, after 1 year, i-review?
expiration.
May ganun ba? May expiry date ba yan?
It's open-ended but subject to regular review. So, so long as both parties, I think, agree to it and no one moves to change any of its provisions, it will continue to be observed by both
How
parties.
many raw emissions have been undertaken by the Philippine side since then, since that agreement?
Just one. So
Just
far,
one.
just one.
Pero sir, why is China free to release its own version or its own narrative of the agreement with its own spin? Tapos we seem to be bound to just react to whatever they release. Di ba? Parang medyo one-sided naman yun. Di ba?
Wala bang violation sila dun sa kanilang paglabas ng ganyang statements, Yusek?
Because we negotiated in good faith, no? We negotiated in good faith, so we want to take the moral high ground here. In everything we do, actually, we have always taken the moral high ground. Dami nang gustong makipag-water cannon din tayo na sabayan natin yung China sa kanilang aggressive, deceptive, illegal actions. But we never took that route because we wanted to take the moral high ground. So siguro, let's just accept it for what it is. China will always try to spin it the way they want it. But what's important is the Filipino people know the truth.
Well, yung nga sir,
So,
we don't
dito
know the
sa
details.
Scarborough, tuloy pa rin yung ano ninyo, magtutuloy pa rin yung aerial operations. There are routine patrols, di ba?
Yes.
Tuloy pa rin ba yung routine patrols? Kailan kaya yung within the week kaya meron ulit?
Not just the routine patrols, we have a constant Coast Guard and BFAR rotation. So pag umalis na yung Coast Guard, papalit yung BFAR, tapos babalik uli yung Coast Guard. And routine patrols also from the Philippine Air Force. I don't exactly know when the Air Force will conduct its next maritime patrol, but the guidance coming from the National Security Advisor is to keep it constant, just to keep the pace and also to put additional pressure on China.
ADG Malaya, the easing or the de-escalation of tension in the West Philippine Sea. Okay, let's first of all recognize or accept na may premise tayong gano'n, nagdi-de-escalate yung tension sa West Philippine Sea. Is it being helped or fostered by seeming de-escalated tensions between the U.S. and China on the larger front?
I don't necessarily see the correlation between what's happening in the Philippines and what's happening in the U.S. But I could presume, we could probably say that maybe there's an effect because I know that the United States is also putting the pressure on China. No? They have been talking to the Chinese leaders and telling them that you have to respect the Philippines, you have to respect UNCLOS, you have to respect the arbitral ruling. So maybe all around all of these things,
Is China, is the U.S. also, I won't use the word pressure, no? Is the U.S. also advising us to take it easy?
That's a hard question to answer, no? But remember, this is our concern, and therefore it is primarily our responsibility. But the United States has always wanted regional stability in this part of the world. No? It is to their interest that things are kept at the low, no? That tensions do not increase as much as possible. So, but at the same vein, they always tell us that their commitment to the Philippines is ironclad.
Yes, ironclad. Because I was just wondering...
Cambio lang akong konti bago maubusan ng oras. Kasi medyo ngayon yung politics natin medyo umiinit at medyo nagbabangayan yung leadership. Is it having any impact on the security situation in the Philippines? Are you monitoring any destabilization, for example, sa ngayon?
What we have been monitoring is increased foreign malign influence and interference. No, that's the alarming part. No, kasi
what do you mean exactly? Foreign malign interference
and
saan?
Influence. No, through the use of pro-China trolls, pro-China think tanks, no, pro-China individuals, no. Who are spreading fake news and information or exactly the Chinese narratives, no? So makikita mo yan, Beijing talks this way, and then word for word sasabihin yan ng mga locals dito. So obviously these people are being manipulated or utilized by China to advance their narratives in the Philippines. Kitang-kita naman ng ating mga kababayan yan, no? Yan yung minomonitor namin sa NSC because that could potentially be a threat to our Philippine national security. Kasi remember, it's important for the Filipino people to have the right information and to support government in asserting our rights in the West Philippine Sea. Itong mga to, ang ginagawa nila, they're trying to weaken our position and drive a wedge between the public and between the Philippines and the US for their own interests. So
this foreign malign interference, do you see it influencing our elections next year, which is very close?
Dagdag sa tanong, Yusek ni Patrick, no? Dagdag sa tanong, yung isa ring tanong kanina ni Ami ay itong mga sinasabi nyo na mga trolls, na mga talking heads, etc. most of them are linked to a political organization or political party. So, yun yung tanong siguro ni Ami kanina. Nakikita ba natin na itong confrontation between two major political parties nagiging issue ng security, lalo na sa palapit na midterm election? Dahil hindi naman naiiba sa atin na itong mga talking heads na ito, itong mga trolls na ito, ay very close, if not an organic part of a political party here.
Okay. Siguro, sagutin ko na lang yan by saying that we are concerned about foreign interference in next year's election. So, our concern is on like 3 levels. The first level is possible hacking of our systems for whatever malevolent purpose there may be. Second is the battle for narratives between certain individuals, the fight for our foreign policy, no? And there's another third level which I forget right now.
Deepfakes.
Okay.
Mga deepfakes.
You mentioned possible hacking of our systems. I mean, are we talking about voting machines, for example, or automated election system?
Yes, the election integrity, and we've raised this already with the COMELEC. We've had several discussions with the COMELEC, and the COMELEC assured us that this is something that they are protecting. But importante rin kasi yung public discourse, no? Because I think it is important for these foreign actors to be able to influence the elections next year, because foreign policy is a big part now of our national life.
Okay.
So I'm sure that we will see this as the days progress, and I think it's incumbent for the NSC to take a look at it. Yeah.
In relation kasi dyan, Yusek, may nabasa akong article sa isang respectable naman na news outlet natin na merong isang master spy na na-monitor nila na linking up with our hindi lang mga negosyante, kundi mga politiko. So, I'm almost sure kayo rin ay on top of this. Dahil parang itong master spy na ito ay malawak yung network sa ating bansa, politically.
Sino master spy yan, Bok? X44 ba yan?
Parang pelikula to.
Kasi parang pelikula, no?
Si Tony Pera ba yan?
I-specify ko na, lumabas siya sa Rappler. No? Article ni Bea Kupin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it came out over the weekend.
Yeah.
No? Pero if this can be the last question, I'll answer, no, because I have to move to another meeting.
Okay, yeah.
Naalala ko na bigla yung third concern namin sa NSC. Third is the payoffs to politicians.
Yan.
The payoff to politicians. Yon. So I think in preparation for the elections next year, what we, the public and the NSC, for example, has to take a look at is number 1, the possible hacking or interference in our election systems. Number 2, the battle for narratives. To be able to change foreign policy. And number 3, of course, is the payoffs or bribes to certain politicians coming from whatever sources. Ayan.
Maraming salamat.
Bawal yun, di ba? Yung foreign government contributing
Hindi mo
to
sinagot yung tungkol sa master spy. Now you've got us, Ronald here has gotten us curious because you're talking about a character,
a real one,
a master spy.
Pang Netflix.
We are intrigued. Is there such a person that's being monitored by the NSC?
Susunod ko lang sasagutin. If I can be excused, I really need to go to my next meeting.
Okay.
Sige, sir, bukas na lang.
Maraming salamat.
Okay.
Ikaw na lang magpaliwanag. Baka
Thank you,
Mamaya.
Thank you, sir. Maraming salamat. NSC
salamat.
Assistant
Thank you.
Director General Jonathan Malaya.
Okay, paliwanag ka na. Kasi malamang ikaw resource ng Rappler
Hindi.
So when you say master spy, I mean, we're talking about an individual.
Yes.
How can he be a master spy?
Pinangalanan ng Rappler.
How
He's
could
been
spy
here.
can he be if
He's been here since 2021. Sabi ng Rappler, for the past 2 years, minamonitor na siya. At siyempre, kasama sa monitoring, may mga kinakausap siya.
Is he here on an official capacity or
Ang mga spies naman, never on an official capacity. So, pero siya ay katulad nyo, mga journalist.
Yun.
No? Kaya hindi ko sigurado, baka meron din isa rito, no, na master spy. Ikaw ba, Eds?
But how can he be a master spy and be so well known?
Hindi, ngayon lang lumabas eh. Ngayon lang siya nakilala at malamang ibabalik na yon, pababalikin na sa China yon. No,
Okay.
dahil na siya eh.
Nabuking.
Nasunog na eh. No?
Nabuking, nasunog.
Ang tanong, sino ba yung kanyang mga kausap? Sino ba yung mga media na kanyang kausap? Dahil in-specify.
When you say master spy, this is not a...
Yung sinasabi ni Yusek Malaya, may bayad yun. No? Meron kwan yan.
Hindi to Pinoy, syempre.
Hindi siya Pinoy. He's a foreign correspondent.
From Beijing.
Walang ganyan na
Kasi-
bok.
May binigit siya kanina ano eh.
O, basahin nyo na lang yung
Public
Rappler
Beijing.
article. No? Baka bukas, nasa Philippine Star na rin yun.
Okay, pinapalis na tayo. We are being evicted already, so.
Okay, thank you for joining the Storycon today. Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit.
Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Patrick Paez, and we are One News, all sides, all the time. This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.